guys, Anne-Marie here, and today we're going to fake it till we make it. This is for a challenge I'm doing on a message board where we're having a little session of summer school with an after school club. And in that, after one of the after school clubs, we're doing kind of like a knockoff of a collection or like a counterfeit kit kind of idea where you either use the collection you have, which we're basing it on Paige Evans Blooming Wild, or where you dupe it from your stash, or where you kind of DIY your own version of it. So today I am sharing just my dupes for the Blooming Wild collection. This isn't a collection that I bought when it first came out. It's not one that I'm planning on purchasing because I'm going to try to make it for my stash because I have so much paper. It's a gorgeous collection though. So I wanted to, I was inspired by it. So I wanted to play with it. So I pulled a bunch of paper from my stash that I tried to correlate with the specific papers from the collection. I pulled a bunch of embellishments from my stash that I also tried to correlate with the specific collection. None of this is a perfect match, although at least two pieces I think maybe three are like so close. And I'll be honest, it doesn't feel like the most cohesive kit. Like it's not something I would have packed on my own, but the whole point of doing this kind of concept is to challenge yourself and stretch yourself. And so I do feel like I'm going to achieve that objective. I have definitely challenged myself. All right, so first up, I'm going to start with, I believe it's paper number 1, and it's a cut apart with a purple plaid on the back. It's a darker plaid, it's a larger plaid, and the cut apart sheet is constructed differently with different colors. But I thought these went together nicely. I thought they played together well. And this is like possibly the very first Die Cuts with a View paper pad stack that ever existed. So it's time for this to be used. Don't you agree? That's 18 or more years old. So that's older than my kids, everybody. All right. The next paper was this really pretty floral, and the original, like in the kit or in the collection, I'm sorry, I think it's like a dark purple, but with these kind of folksy hand-drawn flowers on it. And I felt like this was almost a perfect dupe for this one. This is Pebbles Kit at Heart. And yes, that means since I'm throwing a bunch of papers in here and I'm picking one paper to be one side, there's also going to be a double-sided paper component to this that isn't part of the Blooming Wild, but that's okay. I'm okay with it. On the flip side of that, it was a pink piece of paper with a lot of different hearts. And conveniently enough, the back side of my next piece had this hot pink with light pink hearts. This one, this painterly type background, I'm actually subbing it in for the pastel plaid because to me, this kind of reads the same as far as it's like there's little boxes all across and there's some overlapping of the colors and it's predominantly pink. So this is for the next piece of paper, the plaid. So that was nice that they double-sided and it worked in my kit. This is one of those that I was talking about. It was like a near perfect dupe. This is from, I'm not going to remember the name now of the paper pad, but a few years ago, this gorgeous gradient cardstock paper pad came out and I was lucky enough to get one and I've just been like hoarding it ever since. I use these very sparingly, but it has a paper that gradients from yellow to pink in the original collection. And I actually have a piece of cardstock that gradients from yellow to pink. So that was perfect. All right, next there is a paper with a bunch of multicolored hexagons and they're really cute, kind of like quilt work or patchwork. And I'm not 100% committed to this because I feel like the hexagon paper could be DIY'd to some degree, and I may still choose to do that. This again today is only stuff that I pulled from my stash that's already ready made that kind of mimics the kit. So I'm not 100% committed to this because it is such bright primary colors and a lot of the rest of the kit is more muted. It doesn't not work per se. So I threw it in and we're gonna see. On the back side of that is a little kind of darker green pattern with some small flowers on it. And so I didn't have anything like that in my stash, but I did have this white on primary color green polka dot that I thought was a good sub. The next piece, I think I had to skip a few because I just really couldn't find anything comparable in my stash. And there's a few that I, again, am going to counterfeit. So I kind of left some of these out. These aren't going to be all the papers. But there is a teal pattern backed with a graph or grid paper pattern. So those will go in for that. This is another one of those that I thought was like a near perfect dupe. This is my favorite summer from Echo Park. And it's the same kind of folksy hand-drawn rainbows. And the back side is kind of a light blue, kind of tone on tone pattern. So those are my two pieces for that. This is another one that I'm not 100% committed to yet, but there's a big bold alphabet paper. I am planning on trying to counterfeit that actual alphabet, like the thicker sheet. So this is a different font than what I'm going to be using, but it's big blocky letters. And this is kind of what I would bring it to every time was this one, or there's like a few other rainbow pieces later. And if it kind of worked with that rainbow piece, then I'm like, throw it in. So, and then on the back, it had kind of a blue, I want to say with white flowers, although there was another blue kind of lattice work one too. So I can't remember now which one this was. Then there's a tone on tone navy, and I didn't really have anything for that. So I just put in a piece of navy cardstock. There is a tag and borders sheet, cut apart sheet. This is one that I really like. I think the colors really work pretty well with it, but it does have kind of a cream instead of a white, and that bothers me sometimes. So we'll see how much I use it. This is actually another Paige Evans piece, just a completely different collection. This is from Go the Scenic Route, but she had a few pieces in this Blooming Wild collection that were kind of the big stripes or like the big scallops. And so I thought this went well with that, and the colors work really well with the other papers in my stash, including this gorgeous rainbow plaid. So I can't remember now right off the top of my head which one this is subbing in for. It was this one because of the rainbow and the kind of squarish structure. And then on the back of that was a kind of a teal tone on tone geometric pattern. And so that's the back of that. There's a lot of navy pieces. So again, this is one I didn't have a good dupe for, so I threw in a piece of navy cardstock instead. There was at least two different pieces that had kind of this pink background with these red or pink flowers. And so this, I pulled this in for that. And like, look how well some of these colors, they just blend so nicely into the next piece. All right, this is another piece I've been hoarding for a while. It's also from a paper pad. So it's kind of photorealistic clouds, but they have this kind of color wash over them that gradients through a bunch of different colors. And it's so similar to kind of the watercolor paper with the 5 different colors kind of spinning around. I thought it was so similar, and it's gorgeous, and it works really well with some of the other pieces in the kit. So I thought it would be a really good choice. It seemed to complement things. All right. This one is Battle Scarred from our cat that likes to eat paper. It's my bad for leaving it out. But anyway, she had a snack. There was another piece. There was blue, and I believe it had tiny red flowers, but now I don't know because they're starting to blend all together. But there was another piece that was blue with flowers or blue with a smaller pattern like this. So there's that sub. There's another piece with the watercolor hearts all across it. They were larger hearts, and again, they were watercolor. But these colors, again, work well with a bunch of other pieces in the kit. And they're rows of multicolored hearts. So it felt very similar to me. And on the back of that was a tone-on-tone yellow star pattern. I think the stars were a little smaller in the original, and I probably would have preferred that. But this is a pretty paper too. There's nothing wrong with it. Sure, I will use it. The sunburst, the like rainbow stitched sunburst paper, I do think I'm going to try to counterfeit, but I'm not 100% sure I'm going to because frankly, I don't have a lot of luck with the math on those types of things. But just in case I didn't, I threw this in as that dupe. Obviously, it's not a radial sunburst. It's coming out from one corner, but I still think it works well. And this is the same Scrapbook Generation collection that the hexagons are part of. So they go together well. There's a diagonal stripe paper. And see, this is the kind of thing that kind of bothers me is that there's a lot of different pinks going on here. And that would normally not sit well with me. But there are other pieces in the kit that this works with. So we're going to go ahead and keep it in here because it's diagonal rainbow lines, which is the similar concept. But there's like a pink grid or graph or ledger paper, and sometimes the pink works with the other pieces, and sometimes, like the last one, it doesn't. But there's enough here that does work with it. This was another really close dupe for me. For the kind of multicolored flowers on a white background piece of paper. This one, however, is by Cocoa Vanilla. So I thought that worked really well. And it was very similar. Gotta find it now. It was very kind of similar feeling to this, but different flowers. But I still feel like they're complementary enough to each other. And frankly, I wouldn't be using probably both on the same page, but they work, the colors work well together, and the style I think works well. Like the hand-drawn roundabouts like there, and then the doodled centers. There's a lot of similar techniques. And on the back side of that was another blue kind of tone-on-tone piece. This, I think it's more geometric than this one though. But this color works well with some of the other pieces in the kit. As far as lettering options, there was some rainbow puffy stickers or thickers. So I pulled out some rainbow thicker sets that I have. In the sticker book pages, you could see this really pretty holographic alphabet option. So I threw these in, and this kind of navy purple background goes well with the kind of navy purple backgrounds of the collection. There's some really pretty floral ephemera with the collection. And so not all of these, like some of these are just little punched hearts, or the doilies, but a lot of these flowers are from my Spellbinders card kits. They usually include an ephemera pack, including florals often. And these are all different shades of pink, but they're also all pinks that are found in the kit that I'm making. Included in the ephemera were also a lot of labels. Oh, and there's a label paper that I might counterfeit, but I'm not sure yet. There were also some chipboard tiles and just some chipboard embellishments in general. These are ones where the colors went with the kit. And then these, I wish I could find like the paper that this came from, the collection that this originally came from, because I feel like these butterflies are extraordinarily similar, and I really loved the butterfly paper, so I was kind of sad I couldn't find a dupe for it in my collection. But I found these that are in that style. So I threw those in here as kind of like the chipboard tiles. There's also birds that are kind of drawn on like those. There's a floral acetate sheet that I would have a hard time using as is. I'm sure I would be chopping it up. And so I had these little acetate pieces that I believe are from the same collection as those cardstock pieces I just shared. So I threw those in. There's a variety of frames in the collection. So I already had these from older collections. Those are from some Spellbinders kits. These are all just different kinds of chipboard frames that I felt echoed ones in the collection, and they worked with the colors here. There was a selection of journaling spots. There's not necessarily any one-to-one correspondence here at all. These are just ones that I pulled that went with different colors as I went. So this matches like the doily and that pink grid paper from earlier, even if it doesn't match this blush pink color that matches the flowers in one of the rainbow pieces. They still work with something else in the kit, and they have kind of the same feel, kind of that, like the rain. There were a lot of chipboard rounds in the original kit, and so I went through and found some flair that was somewhat similar to some of those pieces, and also just, you know, making sure it, again, went with the kit. There's a whole sheet of puffy flowers, and I don't have a whole sheet of puffy flowers, but I'm not the hugest fan of the puffy stickers in my books anyway. So like I'm worried they're gonna break down and stuff. So I wasn't heartbroken, I guess, that I didn't have a lot, but these are awfully cute. But I pulled these from a Spellbinders kit, and I just pulled all the flowers I could find, and then these circles too, because I thought they'd be good flower centers. There were also some floral charms, and I didn't really think I was going to bother duping those at all. But then my flare and my buttons are all kind of housed in the same container. And so I kept seeing these as I was digging around, and it finally kind of struck me, like, I don't have any metal flower charms, but I sure do have a lot of flower buttons in colors that would match, and they need to be used. So I threw those in as subs for the flower charms. And last but not least, there was some washi tape with this. We'll see if I remember the order. I don't think I do, but anyway, there's kind of a narrow dark green washi with some flowers. I didn't have anything comparable, but I did have this narrow dark green or primary green ribbon. This one doesn't really match. It was a white plaid ribbon with like teal plaid, I guess, pattern drawn on it, but it's the right color. Like this kind of not mint, tealish green color happens a lot in my kit. So, and it was the same color, just in a different quantity. The watercolor hearts, they also had their own little washi roll. And so I had this roll of multicolored hearts washi that I thought would be good. There were a couple different floral washi options. There was like a dark purple, and then there was this more white with multicolored flowers on it. This is not really washi, it's a fabric tape, but still, I thought it was a fun, similar dupe. There was some narrow pink washi and some narrow lime green washi. So I put in ribbon again for those. And then lastly, there's this purple kind of blurple watercolor washi that I thought mimicked the purple washi pretty well, that same color. And the watercolor feel, it's kind of in the kit. So that's the whole kit. I'll have another shot here where you can look at the entire kit, and then maybe a side-by-side of the kit with the collection. There's going to be a video starting, like today is not when I normally put out a video. So the next time I normally put out one would be a Monday. There will be a video on that day where I'm going to DIY something. I haven't decided what yet, but I'm going to DIY something from the collection. I'm planning on 3 different DIY videos. I just don't know what yet because there's so many really good options in the collection. And then after that, I'm going to be using my kit, and it will be kind of the same thing where there's about 4 videos featuring me like creating with the kit. So I hope to see you for all that. I hope you have a great weekend. And if you're playing along, I would love to see what you can dupe from your stash for the Blooming Wild collection. All right, bye.